Are your imbalanced hormones affecting your mood? We're going to dive into how you can assess that and exactly what labs you want to have checked. So, this is for anyone who is having anxiety or spirals sometimes, or just feels kind of depressed or out of it, and it fluctuates throughout the month. We're going to dive into whether this might be tied to your cycle and your hormones and your period, whether you're actually having a period or not. So I think this will be a fun one, Katie.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a woman, you're going to be able to relate to this in one way or another.
If you're a woman.
I mean, yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to choose this stuff, but also, like, if we didn't have our periods, we couldn't like have babies and create new life, which is incredible. But there's like a lot of talk on social media about like was it seed cycling for your hormones and
Yeah.
actually like know what their luteal phase is and their follicular phase. And I hear people all the time be like, oh, I'm so luteal. And I'm like, okay, so you're emotional right now. So I think it's something people are talking about a lot more now, but also we've touched on this before. I don't know where you guys all went to school, but where I went to school, like there was no education on this. None. Maybe because it was Catholic school, but
No,
they
I
were
went to public
like,
school all the way. There was zero.
okay, they like basically sat us down one day and it was like they separated the girls and boys and they were like, hey, you have this thing called a period. You're gonna like bleed once a month and good luck to you. You can now get pregnant. Don't do that. Good luck to you. And that was
Yeah.
pretty much it. So,
That's pretty much ours, except add a 2-hour slideshow of up close STD genital shots in the auditorium to scare us. And like so many people threw up.
are you for real? People are throwing
For
up?
real, that was in sixth grade.
Oh my
Actually,
God.
my husband said they had the same thing, and people in his class also threw up.
Okay, so we didn't get the STD slides until high school
Okay,
because they were like, oh, they might know what sex is now. It's
that's
like, okay, just
hilarious.
because we're in Catholic school and you make us go to church every week doesn't mean we don't know.
Right. They're like, this is purity culture. No, you know what's crazy? And I know this is kind of an aside, but even though I went to public school, they still had us sign a chastity pledge. They passed out chastity cards and everyone signed their pledge.
Like you had a choice. What were you gonna do? Stand up and be like, no, I'm not signing it?
So it was just really like interesting because yeah, when I was a substitute teacher in Redwood City, California, a group that's like gets funding from Planned Parenthood came in and gave like an actual hormone talk, and there's parts of your cycle you get pregnant. Here's what actually happens in your body. Here's your hormones.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And at the time, this was like years ago, I was like, I'm learning from this. And they were also like, you know, like grounded and like positive role models. And they're like, you really don't want to do this because this, but they weren't like, I don't know. They actually gave you the information. It was amazing. They were so
Yeah.
good.
And that would be great. I literally didn't know, hardly knew anything about my cycle until I started trying to get pregnant and it wasn't working. And then I started tracking my basal body
It's the body
temperature,
temp. Yeah.
and I started learning so much. And I just thought, why does no one teach us this?
Yeah. I know.
Anyways,
Yeah.
let's start there. What are these phases of your cycle and what goes on during them with hormone shifts?
It's a good place to start because I do feel like online, everyone's like, oh, it's follicular or luteal. And it's like, actually, we have, day one of your cycle is the first full day of your period. If you spot, we don't count that. So day one through usually like day 14, splitting up a 28-day cycle for the average person, that's going to be your follicular phase when your body's developing those follicles so that you can ovulate. And then you ovulate halfway through your cycle. So follicular is all of that. So like truly you have like your period, then you have your non-bleeding follicular phase, and then you have your ovulation. And ovulation, like, it takes a minute for the egg to travel. So once your body spikes that hormone to release the egg, really you have like a whole day until you ovulate, actually. So
Okay.
like those are like the three parts of the follicular phase. And then we have luteal phase. So you've just ovulated. It's like day 15 through 28 is your luteal phase. But a lot of people don't start having symptoms until the second half of their luteal phase, like the week before they start their period. because halfway through your luteal phase, so day like 21, your hormones spike and then start to drop. And it's the drop that
Mhm.
messes up people so much.
Yeah, yeah. And if you look at if you're into tracking your temperature, you'll see that as you get closer to your period, your temperature little line starts to drop off.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're tracking basal body temp, you'll see it shoot up a half point or a point at like, day 15 usually.
Yeah.
And then you've ovulated.
Yeah. And I think also people may not know because I didn't know this. I was like, oh, you ovulate on like day 14, 15, like in those 2 days. Well, you might not. If everything isn't actually going correctly, you might, one,
Yeah.
not ovulate at all, or it might be way late.
Yeah. And this is like a separate combo, but sperm can live up to 5 days, 7 max. So, like, yeah, people need to know that you can get pregnant for a week prior to your predicted ovulation. And then in the 2 days after you've ovulated. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't get pregnant on during your entire cycle. I think
Unless
people
you randomly double
also,
ovulate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If everything is working normally, like
Right.
it's only a certain period of time you can even get pregnant. And I think people don't know that until you have to start learning timing for preventing pregnancy or trying to get pregnant. Then you're like, oh, okay, there's this window.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Like, why weren't we taught that in school? We weren't taught about ovulation.
I mean, for us, it was like because it was Catholic school, it was just
Yeah.
if you have sex, it's a sin. You will get
You will
pregnant
die.
and you will die. Yeah.
What's that
You'll get
movie? Is that Mean
pregnant
Girls? The coach is like, don't have sex. You'll get pregnant and you will die.
and you'll die. That's Mean Girls.
But yeah, so we're gonna connect all the dots here with like the mental health part of this too, because
Yeah.
and I mean being on birth control, so many people are on birth control, and that also affects your hormones. But there's still labs you can test with that too, although we can't test all of the labs if you're on birth control.
Yeah. I can give some like personal insight into the differences I felt being on birth control versus not. So I was on birth control, like just on the pill, the like low dose one, because I couldn't handle like regular birth control for like 12 years, 10, 12 years. And then I went off of it because I was like, oh, I want to get pregnant now. And I didn't really want to be on the pill. I was just so terrified of getting pregnant when I didn't want to that I was like, this is the only way that I can not be freaking out constantly. And so the biggest things I noticed is when I got off of the pill, I like could actually feel the differences in the phases of my period. So I've never really had a lot of like physical like PMS symptoms. I get kind of emotional. I get really irritated a couple days before I start my period, and I can always tell that. But I started like having some cramping during my period. I also could tell that I was really, really tired during my luteal phase, like compared to follicular. I had a lot more energy. And then also, when I went off birth control, I started losing a bunch of hair. It was almost like postpartum hair loss
Whoa.
because birth control like mimics you being pregnant, basically. So I have a ton of hair, so I really didn't care that I was losing some because I have too much. But like it was falling out in the shower, and I was like, am I okay? And I didn't know what was happening at first. And so those were like the biggest things that I noticed. And also like if you're on birth control, you know exactly when your period's coming. And had to learn like, okay, there's like a range here. So it was like
Yeah.
a learning experience coming off of it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't do well on birth control. I used to take, was it low estrin? Didn't you take that too?
That's what
Isn't
I
that
take. Yeah.
the low? Yeah, I used to take low estrin. And I think I was okay on it for a while. And then I started getting like migraines and insomnia and like getting really irritable. And like my mood was getting really bad. So I tried everything. I tried what's the NuvaRing? It's like just
Oh,
estrogen.
yeah.
That was even worse for me.
Mhm.
And then I tried a Mirena IUD and my body self-ejected that, which was super painful.
I've
So,
I've always been terrified of those. I've heard too much about how much it hurts to get them put in and taken out.
oh, it hurts so bad. But for 90% of women, they're like the best thing ever because it's so helpful to have just the progestin.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of having the fake estrogen too. And it's like way more reliable than taking like a progestin only pill, the mini pill, which you can actually get over the counter now. Which if I were to take a pill or do any kind of birth control, like that's, in a hormone form, that's what I would do because it affects you the least.
Yeah.
You have
Oh,
to be really consistent about taking it every day at the same time.
yes. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I was always, I thought about that. I was like, no, I'm going to screw this up.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened to me when I went off birth control, I started getting the most intense night sweats.
I thought you were
Like,
going to say acne. Everyone always gets crazy acne.
no, my skin was actually fine, weirdly.
Okay. Yeah.
No, the most intense night sweats, like absolutely disgusting.
Like menopausal type because you just dropped
Logan
your hormones.
Logan lovingly started calling me the sweat hog because like we would have to change the sheets the next day and I would have to get up and change my clothes like because I would fully soak through them.
Yeah.
One, gross. Two, I'd wake up freezing and then I'd go sleep on the couch the rest of the night because my spot in bed was too wet.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that happened for months.
Yeah. Which is interesting because our sex hormones also affect our serotonin, which influences our sweating. So sometimes, like, some of that is actually our brain is literally being affected by the hormones when we transition off of birth control.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah. Super fun. We love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, like, so right now I do cycle tracking and I'm not taking any hormone pills because I don't do well with the hormones. And I actually don't even do well with bioidentical hormones. Most people love bioidentical progesterone, not my body.
Okay.
But I definitely get like irritated and really sad. All of a sudden I feel so like despairing. That's the word, despair.
yeah.
Like 5 days before I start my period. I
Yeah.
get a day of like despair the whole day. And it's pretty mild. It's definitely not like PMS is normal. PMDD is like not normal. That's like
No.
super severe. Yeah. So not like that. But I definitely get that. And then the older I've gotten, the more cramps I get for sure.
Mhm.
But ever since I had ever since I got diagnosed with the chronic Lyme, my hormones have never fully gone back to feeling the same, even though I've done everything and all my labs are normal. So hormones aren't the whole picture because inflammation does affect stuff too. But hormones are definitely where to start. And most people who are trying to balance their hormones or have mood symptoms that fluctuate throughout the month are not even getting the basic labs to check for the stuff that would influence that.
Yeah. So what are some things that I think we just kind of get told like, yeah, it's all normal. Like when you're
Right.
pregnant, everything is normal. Oh yeah, that happens. I feel like it's the same with periods. So like what are things people should be maybe not concerned, but like,
Yeah.
oh, this probably isn't quite right.
Yeah, because the difference between common and normal is huge. So just because something's common doesn't mean it's normal. So like it's normal to have a little bit of pain and inflammation. So a lot of women get bowel movement changes a couple days before and during their period. And you might get like a little bit more water retention and swelling, and your face is a little puffier. You might feel a little bit more irritable or like have some changes in your sleeping where you want more sleep or it's harder to sleep or you feel tired or it's harder to work out. And then you can be a little less motivated and like some people get a little bit of a headache. And then with the cramps, like it should be manageable with if you were to take ibuprofen, it should control it. So anything beyond that is not normal. Yeah. So for a lot of people, like the mood stuff is not normal. Like you should barely have your mood change. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I haven't personally worked with anyone with PMTD, but I used to work with a therapist and that was like her specialty.
Yeah.
And I would ask her like, cause I never heard of it before when I first started working, I was like, what is that? And she was like, okay, are you ready? And she was working with people that I guess it was maybe like the 2 weeks before their period. They were like suicidal,
Yeah.
like that level of depressed and anxious. And
Yeah.
I think, tell me if I'm wrong, I think what they were having them do is take birth control for parts of their cycle to like level out their hormones so they weren't suicidal, and then also having them take like an SSRI for part of their cycle.
Yeah. I was going to say for sure the SSRI for part of the cycle. I feel like usually they take their hormones the whole cycle. But yeah, I could see it being for part of it too.
And I just thought, oh my God, what a horrible way to have to live.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? Is it just
Okay.
neurotransmitter and hormone imbalance?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Everyone acts. I mean, first of all, because this is what conventional medicine tells us that like PMDD is this like big enigma, terrible thing. And like you just do what you just said. Like you just take an SSRI medication for part of it. And that's all you can do. But like in my experience, you can fully reverse PMDD because it's literally just neurotransmitter imbalance
Mhm.
plus inflammation or histamine plus usually some kind of nutrient deficiency plus a hormone imbalance.
Okay.
So if like you do all that, we should do a whole episode on that maybe sometime. Cause like if you do
Yeah.
that, you can knock it out. Like it's gone. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Because no, I mean, like, therapy could help you with some coping skills and like just to have that support person to help you get through the really hard times. But no amount of therapy is going to help your neurotransmitters or your hormones.
Right. Right.
And the way you're going through that really hard time, I think it's super helpful to talk to someone, but like,
Yeah.
I can't fix that.
Yeah. Like make a safety plan, get the coping mechanisms, get your support
Absolutely.
people, all of that. But yeah, the cause, like it's not like CBT is gonna fix your PMDD.
No, no, not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone is like, I just want to get like my hormones checked out, I want to see if my cycle is doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
What are things that people can go get labs for?
Yeah. So one that people miss is ferritin, which is your iron storage. And
Yeah.
if you're below like 50, yeah, I know you've had your ferritin low, haven't you?
Me.
Yeah. If you're below that, it actually can impact your hormones, which is why low ferritin is actually one of the biggest causes of miscarriage, too. And so, if you have low ferritin, it can impact hormones for your whole cycle. And like the lab will be like, oh, as long as you have like 16 or 17 or higher, you're fine. But like, no, you really want it to be like minimum 30 or higher.
I can't remember what mine was, but I told you and you were like, Katie, that's
I think it
horrible.
was like 7. It was really bad.
It was really bad. You were like, how are you alive?
Yeah.
Oh,
Most
no, I'm
people are like
tired.
laying down.
I was exhausted constantly. And I
Which
think
again, the motherhood, everyone's like, oh, it's just motherhood.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I went to Dr. Quinn,
Yeah.
who we've had on this podcast.
If he's
And,
holistic, we love him. Yeah.
yep, and he said, I'm just want to make sure, like, how old is your kid? Is it possible you're just tired because of her? I said, no, she sleeps through the night. He said, okay, not normal. Let's
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And then he immediately was like, let's go get your ferritin checked.
Yeah.
And it was in the gutter. So
There we go. Yeah. So low ferritin will make you feel terrible. And then another one that people miss is a thyroid panel. So a TSH screen is usually what's run, and that's no longer even recommended by like the American Endocrine Society. Like the endocrinologist board doesn't even recommend just screening with the TSH. We have to add a free T4 and a free T3.
okay.
So that would look at your thyroid, and your thyroid also influences your hormones. So these are like your ferritin and your thyroid are like foundational pillars that you need to have good hormone tone. So if your thyroid is really low, which is really common in people who are having cycle issues or anxiety or depression that fluctuates throughout the month, then sometimes literally just fixing your thyroid rebalances everything, which is crazy.
Yeah. My I've had my thyroid tested so many times. I like go in and out of being on the border of
Yeah.
thyroid where it's like you're like almost there but not quite. And I've had
Yeah.
it at 5 or 6 times just over the years and I'm like always fluctuating between no, you're good right now and like it's not good.
Yeah. And it does fluctuate a lot. And you can't take biotin, no hair nails for like days before you get it done or it'll mess it up. But like that's another one of my pet peeves is again, what's common is not normal. So like if your free T3 is below like 2.9 or 3, like that's a no, even though they say that that's normal,
Mhm.
which is really common. Usually people just start dropping there. And then if your free T4 is below like 0.9, like no, like that's too low. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I've learned that the lab like cutoffs are usually if you're like towards the cutoff, you're
yeah,
probably actually too high.
right, right. And thyroid's one of those where every 0.1, like behind the decimal, actually makes a huge difference in how you feel. Like you can be
Okay.
tired at like, 2.8 for T3 and like not tired at 2.9. So it's like a big deal. So
Yeah.
yeah, that one's a big deal. And then the actual hormones, again, this is like, I think this is just going to be a my pet peeves listing thing is the gynecologist that might test your hormones just wants to do it while you're there in office, which gives us no information. Like you have to test at very specific times of the month. And it's not the same day for everyone. So we're trying to catch about 6 days post ovulation. So if you use strips that you're peeing on to see when you're ovulating, or if you're tracking your basal body temp, or if you really track your cervical mucus or your cervical changes, then we can go off of that and it'll be the most accurate. Otherwise, we look and we see, like for someone's cycle who's really regular, if we hit like 1 week before their predicted period start date, that's usually about day 19 to 21. That's usually like the right time of the month. But at that time of the month, we can check estradiol, which is the active form of estrogen. We can check progesterone, which is supposed to reach its peak at that time. And then because both estrogen and progesterone are peaking, we can actually compare their ratio. So sometimes people will be like, oh, that's normal for both of them. But the ratio could be really off, which could mean you have estrogen dominance or estrogen deficiency.
Okay. See, I've never heard that before. When I was going through my fertility stuff, they would have me come in day 21 to get my progesterone drawn.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like, was that the most accurate day? Depending on, people are going to know way too much about me. I tend to ovulate on day like 17 or 18.
Yeah. That was way too early for you then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And which I didn't know at the time, but I know now. And I have a short luteal phase, which is they were like, your luteal phase is short. That might be why you keep having miscarriages or part of the
Yeah.
reason why. And so, yeah, I don't think I was getting my blood drawn on like the best days.
Right. So it wasn't even quite accurate. Yeah. Yeah. And with the luteal phase shortening, that's like interesting because that's almost always progesterone deficiency.
Hmm.
And so that's another marker, that people can look for is if one of your phases is a lot shorter than the other. Like if your follicular phase is really short, maybe you're low on estrogen. If your luteal phase is short, then you really do have a hormone imbalance because that's the last thing to shift. So like luteal phase should always be 2 weeks. So usually people who ovulate late just have a longer cycle and they don't start their period till day like 35.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was never the case for me. I was always starting my period day like 26 or 27 and having a really short luteal phase. And I did
Yeah.
have like low-ish progesterone, although they didn't draw my blood on the right day. So I think I had low progesterone. I think maybe my ferritin was low then too. They didn't ever check that. Anyway, so you can see like, and this, even if you're not trying to get pregnant, like these are all good things to know should you wish
Yeah.
to get pregnant in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe start working on it now instead of being like me and being like, oh shit, this is gonna take a minute.
Yeah. And even if you don't want to get pregnant, hormone balance actually prevents cancer and it actually helps prevent heart and stroke because your hormones keep your blood vessels really healthy and help keep your plaque down. So you keep your cholesterol balanced. They help keep your blood pressure nice and healthy and low and like so much more. They help preserve your brain function and prevent against dementia, help stop premature aging, helps keep like vaginal sensation, vaginal dryness, like helps with all of that. So yeah, there's so many reasons, to make sure your hormones are balanced, just so you live your best life.
Yeah, like ideally, all of our systems would be working the right ways, so we feel the best we can
Yes.
feel. And yeah, I think it's another one of those things where like women's health gets neglected, and
Yeah.
mostly because we don't even have the education to know that we should be asking for these things, looking for certain things, and so yeah.
Yeah. And one last thing too is like if you have osteoporosis in your family, like you have to stay on top of your hormones because those are the biggest factor for your bone density.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like so much behind this. And then the mood part, I mean, your hormones, I think people think of hormones as just being in our reproductive pelvic bowl, but actually the signaling for all of your hormones comes from your brain.
Yeah.
It's all brain signaling. So it's all what's going on inside your brain. And so no wonder like our mood is affected and our sleep is affected and stuff because these are strong brain hormones that are being sent out that have some effect on other tissues too, not just our reproductive area.
Yeah. And I will say, if I'm about to start my period or just started it, like I will get so emotional about the dumbest things. Like I'll like look at Ivy and be like, "Oh my God, she's not a baby anymore." And the rest of the month, I'm like, oh, like what a cute little toddler. Or I'll be watching a TV show and something sad happens, and I'm like, "Why is this so upsetting?" And then if you're pregnant, like that's an even bigger, like wild ride. I could hardly listen to the radio because any song that was remotely sentimental, I would start tearing up. And like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm not a crier. I'm not a sentimental person. People make fun of me for that all the time. They're like, Katie doesn't care about anything. And I'm like, no, I do. I just don't show it that much. Oh my God, when I was pregnant, Logan was watching a movie. I can't remember what it was, but it was like kind of a sad movie. I was just like in the general vicinity. I wasn't really watching it, but I saw part of it. I sobbing. And I was like, why are you doing this to me? Why is this on? And Logan was like, oh my God.
Which just goes to show the effect of hormones. Pregnancy when you're maxed on hormones.
Oh my gosh. And I knew what was happening. I was like, I'm just pregnant. I'm sorry.
I know, it's irrational in the moment. Yeah, I know.
I can't help it.
That's wild. It's like imagining you tearing up is like, yeah, very funny, honestly.
Oh, I know. It was very not like me. And then I will postpartum. I think people get really embarrassed to talk about postpartum rage.
Yeah.
It is when that hormone crash happens, I would get, and I tried not to like let it affect anyone else or take it out on anyone else, but I would get so angry that like I really wanted to pick something up and just throw it against the wall. So
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
maybe that would make me feel better. And just like mad, enraged about nothing in particular. And it's a terrible feeling. It does go away eventually.
And like that's those brain effects of the hormones because that kind of rage we actually see in mold illness and chronic inflammation too because they affect the brain and lower those brain hormones also. So that's like, yeah, it's so interesting. Our brain is very sensitive to hormone changes.
Yeah. So if you have intense mood swings, not normal. Some mood
Right.
swings, like feeling more irritable, a little more sad, sentimental, whatever, fine. If you're feeling things like that, not normal.
If we're doing more than crying at a Sarah McLachlan animal shelter commercial, then not normal.
If you're beside yourself,
Yeah. Yeah. So with testing these hormones, like everyone, I think, kind of knows about estrogen and progesterone, but testosterone is kind of like a forgotten one. And testosterone really affects how we feel. It gives us our motivation, can fuel our libido, can fuel our energy, can actually help us like regulate our body temperature. So women who are low in testosterone are more likely to be like freezing cold all the time. And it helps balance our other hormones because all of our hormones influence each other to a degree. So testosterone can be really high, and we can see that in like PCOS and other conditions where estrogen and progesterone might be really low. So it's all about like counterbalancing each other too.
I do have a question about testosterone. So I've seen at like mostly like med spas, they now have these testosterone pellets you can get put like in your butt cheek. What is that about? Is that good for you? Is it not good for you?
Right. Yeah.
It seems sketchy to me.
I mean, okay, my true opinion is most people who are doing pellets are trying to make money. Like you charge so much for them and it's really easy. Someone just comes in and you just do it. You're not having to like play detective and figure out their health issues and what's wrong. You're just like on this easy maintenance schedule. So usually it's done at like spas and like places that are just trying to make money. I don't love testosterone pellets. Other pellets can be okay, but I have seen so many people react really badly to testosterone pellets because testosterone builds up in your body where the other ones don't. So even if you take that pellet out, if your levels got really high, they're going to stay high for a while and it can like really mess you up. And it's really unpredictable. Like you could have two women with the same body composition, same age, everything. and put one in one person and another in the other, and one of them will do great and their levels will be like perfectly normal. And then the other person will get like sky high levels or none at all. It's crazy.
So what happens if you like react poorly and your levels get really, really high? What
Yeah.
happens?
I mean, you can start to have androgen signs. Like,
Uh-huh.
worst case thing that can happen with really high testosterone is your clitoris starts like growing, like really weirdly, like
Oh my
really
gosh.
prominently, kind of like growing like a mini penis right there.
Oh my God, that would be terrifying. I thought you were gonna say like you get facial hair or
That
something.
too. That's like the lesser worst case
I wasn't
scenario.
prepared for the other.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
that can
God.
happen. And then, like, I don't know, you're not going to feel great usually if your testosterone is like really high because our bodies aren't quite adapted for that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the pellets. I think they can work for some stuff, but we can so easily, like, progesterone is best absorbed orally. Estrogen and testosterone, just do in a combo cream, do in a gel, and like just apply it. I don't know. I think that that's just way better.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
curious because I saw that probably like a year ago and I thought that would kind of freak me out a little bit.
Yeah. And again, like if you're taking pellets, like as long as you're getting your labs checked, they're fine. Just like don't be one of those people that takes pellets from a spa, not a doctor, for like 6 months without checking your labs. Like that's where you
Yeah.
get into trouble. Yeah.
And if you feel great and they're working for you, like, okay,
Yeah.
I would be too scared to see what happened.
Yeah. Fair enough. Although it'd be kind of nice to probably like build more muscle, get a little
I mean, yeah.
testosterone
So
boost.
I like the med spas, the way that they're marketing it is like you'll have more energy, build more muscle, lose fat, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that sounds great. But then I also am like,
Yeah.
facial hair
I hope they're
growing.
checking people's testosterone levels first.
I
Like,
think so. So the one that I saw, they were. They had like a nurse practitioner who would
okay.
do a hormone panel.
Okay.
What was in that panel, I don't know, but they did make you do blood work before.
Okay. Yeah. And that kind of leads me to another hormone that you can check, which is your DHEA, which is the precursor to your testosterone and estrogen. And like a lot of times, these spas are only checking progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, and they might not even be checking your free versus total testosterone, which you need to check both. And then if they don't check your DHEA, you might be someone who's already really prone to having androgens, like the male type hormones,
Hmm.
like testosterone and DHEA. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's important to look at your whole picture, like what's happening upstream that converts downstream with your hormones, and then what are your downstream hormones doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think people also just want like quick results. And so they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
have a quick result. And if it's not that serious, I'll probably try something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like that.
Yeah. And I mean, unless your testosterone gets insanely high, it's not that serious. But like I have talked with the hormone doc here who does functional prescribing and he is like so for reference, like normally testosterone is like 45 and then it drops down to like maybe like 10. And he's been like, I've seen someone with a testosterone of 400 who had a pellet. So like that's not normal.
Oh, no,
So
that's
it's just
scary.
about like, yeah, like work with someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Any other tests people should be getting?
Yeah, so on that note of free versus total testosterone, we have something called sex hormone binding globulin, which is a protein that is its purpose is to hold on to some of your hormones, most notably your testosterone, to regulate how much is available. So, you could have a fine total testosterone, but your free testosterone could be super low. And that means it's not actually available to you. So, sometimes sex hormone binding globulin spikes up really high. That can be part of why it takes people so long to adjust after birth control is because taking birth control pills gives your body such high doses. Your body responds by making more sex hormone binding globulin to bind up a lot of it. So then you have more circulating. So then you have to wait for like your liver function to normalize and all of that for your levels to go back down. Because until then, like you might be binding your own natural hormones your body's trying to make after birth control. So that was
Yeah.
a big deal.
How long after someone goes off birth control, if they don't have any like issues or health conditions, how long do you think it usually takes for everything to level back out?
3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to check their labs really soon after. We can't get accurate estrogen or progesterone labs while you're on birth control to look at your cycle because you're not actually cycling. Birth
Right.
control is just, yeah, suppressing. And then you get a withdrawal bleed from stopping it instead of a true period. So a lot of people want to check like right after they get off birth control. And it's like, you've really got to wait 3 months at least, or you're wasting your money. And honestly, kind of same with, if you're breastfeeding or you're postpartum, if you haven't, you know, if you haven't restarted your cycle and had a couple cycles, it's not going to be super accurate either.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's times to go ahead and check it. Like I've checked hormones on people who are taking birth control to see if some of their symptoms were coming from estrogen dominance due to the birth control. And so it's really rare, but like sometimes people's estrogen, which is supposed to cap at 200, will come back at like 700 if they're on birth control. And you're
Oh,
like, okay, wow, this is probably too much estrogen for you. And there's a lot of stuff we can do to route estrogen through the proper pathways too.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Those are the big ones. And then checking LH and FSH. That's our brain's master signal down to the reproductive area to release these downstream hormones. And so FSH and LH, we can check their balance and then we can know, like, are you having the proper signaling to get the proper downstream hormones? And we can get clues about PCOS, ovulation, fertility, clues about where you are in terms of perimenopause, even. If your
Mhm.
FSH is like above 10, like you might be heading toward perimenopause.
What age is that usually on average?
Yeah, most people go through menopause, meaning they had a full year without having a period, so they're done at age 51. So peri can be any time before that. Like sometimes it's like a year before that, sometimes, or a little more than a year before that. Sometimes it's like 10 years before that. But
Okay.
I would say like 43 to 45 is if you're really in tune with your cycle. That's when I see people start noticing the very first symptoms.
Okay. And I would love to do a whole episode on perimenopause because I've seen on social media lots of women are starting to go through it earlier.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really want that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, we have now reinterpreted the previously flawed women's health study. So we know we can safely take natural bioidentical hormones. So
Mhm.
if you don't want to go through the full peri, like we can pretty much stop that with hormones. But yeah, there's options depending on fertility goals because you are still fertile while you go through perimenopause. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, and also like some women are having kids into their 40s.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so that would, yeah, I feel like that would just have to be a consideration if you're over 40 and you're still wanting to have kids, then
Yeah.
I don't have the energy for that. I don't think I don't think I can
Yeah.
have a newborn at like 42 years old. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'd make it. So,
That'd be, it's funny because, like, yes. And also, I think because we have so much chronic illness in our society, there are a lot of people that don't get the help they need till later. And so they actually have more energy at
yeah,
41 than they did when they were 30?
that's probably fair. Yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe your like life is slower and you're more settled, and so it would be easier.
You can afford a night nurse.
Or a night nurse. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see pros. I see some pros.
God, I would love a night nurse. I actually looked into it. We really don't like have them here
Oh,
in
really?
Arkansas. Like, no,
Yeah.
I mean, there's like maybe
I
like
bet you can hire like Franny down the street to come night nurse for you, but it won't be
probably,
official.
yeah, yeah. Like in big cities, it's like a real thing, and there's like all these agencies of night
Yeah.
nurses, and like
Yeah.
around us, I looked, not really. Also, it's like wildly expensive.
Yeah.
But still, yeah.
Yeah. Be nice. Yeah. Pros and cons.
Mhm.
But yeah, those are the main hormones. I mean, there's other ones that are like adjacent, but just sticking to hormones, those are the big ones that I think have like the biggest effect on people. And again, like everyone's always asking me, like, who do you go to get these drawn? It's got to be a hormone specialist or someone who's holistic. And I don't even see holistic people always doing this well because most people that are functional med, like, I don't think people realize that they just went to regular med school or nursing practitioner school or PA. And then they took a very short course after their graduation and then they say they're functional. Or they didn't even take the course and you can still say you're functional. So, like, this is where I'm kind of biased because I know my training covered this. So, like, true naturopathic physician or a hormone specialist. Most gynecologists don't do this. They're just going to put you on birth control. Even
Yeah.
if you're in perimenopause, they're going to put you on birth control, which isn't usually the best option for people.
Yeah, that is always kind of the fix these days. Maybe not so much anymore, but when we were growing up, it was like, oh, you have acne, birth control.
Yeah.
Oh, you have this, oh, birth control.
Cramps, birth control. Yeah.
Fix everything. I got put
Mhm.
on birth control for acne because I like had done all the like dermatologist stuff, topical stuff, and it wasn't working. And
Yeah.
my doctor was like, oh, birth control.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And I will say, like, as a caveat, there are some people that birth control is magic for. Like,
yeah.
their body does amazing on it. They don't have increased PMS symptoms on it. They do great. Like, they feel great. And for those people, like, that means that your body is responding really well to those hormones versus someone like me. When I take birth control, it shuts down all of my own internal production of my own hormones. So my body feels like it's going through like perimenopause or something. And then I also get the side effects of having like the high hormones. So to
Yeah.
each their own. I feel like birth control is like a 50-50.
Yeah, I think people are really trying to demonize it now, and it's like
Yeah.
no birth control. And I think it again, we say this on every episode, like it just depends on the person.
It's a tool. It's all about using it appropriately.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, do we have any health trends that we want to audit for the week?
Oh, I have one. I have one.
Okay.
I won't tell you what it is so that you can. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I've got one. There are several influencers, one in particular, who actually I really like her. I won't say who it is, but they have it originally was for lymphatic drainage. Like she calls it a jiggler, which is
Is it a vibration plate?
it's a vibration
Okay.
plate. Yes. But she calls it her jiggler. And I'm like, that sounds really bad. Anyway, people are now standing on these vibration plates for like lymphatic drainage.
I have one.
Okay, they're claiming weight loss, all this stuff. Like, so you have one. What's your take on
Yeah.
the vibration plates?
They're claiming weight loss.
Yeah.
That reminds me of those like shake weights.
Which also look pretty inappropriate.
Yeah, they do. Okay, I mean, I don't feel like it does everything, but I do feel like it helps. Like, it definitely helps drain your lymph because lymph is passive and it can only move if we move. So, if you're not out there running and like doing yoga and getting yourself really like in all these positions where your muscles are going to be squeezing and moving your lymph and getting your heart rate up to move your lymph, then it can be worth it to use a lymph board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
think it looks kind of fun.
it is fun. You should try mine. It's really, I
Okay.
love it. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I think that it probably doesn't really help you lose weight, like probably not meaningfully. And I do think that, I don't know. I see all these like health influencers just like standing on it and stuff. And like, they've probably already like worked out a million times for the day and stuff. So I don't know how much extra benefit they're getting from it, but it can't hurt unless you have joint replacements and stuff. And then you need to go check on that with your doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I totally bought into the like, okay, lymphatic drainage.
Ah,
I totally get that. I don't see an issue with that.
yeah.
But then I started seeing all these other people getting them, calling them their jigglers, and they're like weight loss and energy. And someone was like, it makes me go poop every time I get on it. I was
I
like,
could see that. It probably stimulates their intestines.
it's not moving. But it just really got turned into like this trendy thing. And so
I think, yeah, it's just such a, I don't think it gives you energy. Like maybe a little because it clears your lymph. So it clears your brain fog a little, but
sure. And I've seen like Marissa, who we also had on the podcast.
yeah.
I've seen her Instagram stories and she like stacks a bunch of stuff. So she'll
Yeah.
stand on a vibration plate in front of a red light.
Yes. Yes.
And something else. And I'm like,
yes. That's
I
what I
would-
see most people doing.
I
Yeah.
would love to be that person.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
have any of those things and I would love to be that person.
I see that in my future. So far, I just have the vibration plate, the jiggler.
Mhm.
But maybe in the future, I could add a red light. I will say I've been hesitant to add in the red light for the face just because I've had 2 patients that actually had loss of fat due to red light. So,
Oh.
like, yes, it can like stimulate your cells, but I think sometimes, and I don't know, I haven't looked into this enough, but like it can maybe actually cause some fat loss in the face. I don't know.
Okay.
or like more aging. Like they had like more like sagging, those two people. So
Like that's not supposed to happen.
no. So I
But
need
yeah,
to dive into that more.
one day I'll be the person doing that. Maybe when Ivy's a little bit older, I can get her own little vibration
You
plate.
guys
She
can
would
do it
think that's hilarious.
together.
Yes, we'll just be little wellness girlies together.
Or you can get her a rebounder, which is like a tiny mini trampoline.
Yeah,
That'd be probably
she would do
better.
that.
Yeah.
She does she likes to do her skincare at night with me, which she just goes lotion, lotion, and she pretends to rub it on her face when I do it.
That's awesome.
I've started giving her like the tiniest little bit,
Yeah.
and she puts her lotion on at night now.
That's
So
so cute. Oh my
it's
gosh.
really
I
funny
love
what
that.
they pick up on.
Yeah. She's gonna be glamorous.
Yep.
You have really good skin. She's gonna have really good skin.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning in with us today. This was fun.
Yep. We'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly reset. If you loved hanging out with us today, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share this with a friend who could use a little calm and connection too.
This show is for education and inspiration, not medical advice. To learn more or connect with us, check out the show notes below. Until next time, take care of your mind, your body, and your heart.